The new parts have arrived from the factory without issue. They'll be fitted to the car in time for the next session.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 23 today for the Bahrain Grand Prix here in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous episode, number 22, at the Australian Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Sets up the entire season with a nice overview, and the entire race really was a really exciting one to kind of get you in the mood for this entire second season of our F1 2018 career mode. But going into this episode then, we have two minor upgrades on the car, and that's going to take us over the edge. You can see on the graph here to become the best car on the grid. Full stop, on paper. Obviously, in the race, might be a different thing. We saw at Australia, for some reason, myself and Magnussen just really couldn't pull it together in qualifying. Obviously, for myself, there was a bit of rain involved, but then in the race, we came back to it. So, even though on paper, we're there, we're going to have to see how it shakes out in qualifying and the race. And obviously, Bahrain, notoriously, has always been a very OP circuit for the AI cars, and so we'll see how that goes. But two minor upgrades, really happy with where we're going with the car. And I think next up, also kind of agreeing with some of you guys in the comments, I think we should be looking at more kind of engine power and then the downforce. That's where we're really lacking, is downforce versus like the cars like Red Bull, and then engine power v like Ferrari, the works team there. But you know, at the moment the foundation of our car is looking really, really good, and I'm excited to see how we do around here at Sakir. So let's just go straight into qualifying then and see how we do.
The cars are ready, the drivers are ready. We hope you're ready as qualifying is about to begin here in Bahrain. I want to talk briefly about the strategy in these qualifying sessions. Anthony Davidson, how can a driver adjust their approach to gain those critical extra tenths of a second?
Well, qualifying isn't about adjusting your approach necessarily. It's more about trying to repeat a low fuel run that you've practiced prior to this session. You're looking for perfection on the lap, and that's hard to achieve if you're trying something new. There are some variables that can stand in your way, however. Track position or unexpected yellow flags, for example. Coupled with ever-changing track conditions, it's important to be out there at the right moment. But as a driver, you have to try and ignore these distractions and just keep your mind focused on that one perfect lap.
I say here we are then in qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix, skipping over practice. I think, you know, now that we've done one entire season of the career mode, you guys have maybe had enough already of the kind of practice overviews. You guys know the gist. I'm always going to try and get the maximum kind of points I can get from practice. Sometimes some circuits a little bit more difficult than others, but generally you guys have got the gist of that by now, so I'm going to kind of skip over that. But I mean, if there's any kind of high demand for a specific kind of part of practice that you guys maybe want to see in the future, let me know in the comments below. But we're going to go straight into qualifying here in Q1, and we're going to cross the line for our first flying lap there. We go back to the garage and just simply sit here and accelerate through the time basically and see if that's good enough for us. At the moment, Kevin Magnussen is looking amazing in Q1. He's up in first place. Obviously, it doesn't really matter because Q1 is just about getting into Q2 and then vice versa, Q2 into Q3. So for us, you know, a quote-unquote top team now, it doesn't really matter until we get to that top 10 shootout. But to see Magnussen at the top of the timesheet is pretty damn awesome, awesome really. You can see I have a lot of time to find versus K-Mag maybe in this Q2 session. Of course, last season, opening and our very first outing here at Bahrain, I got knocked out of Q2 and couldn't make the cut. You know, like I said, just mentioned that intro, Bahrain, if you look back to last year's game, was always a very, very difficult circuit. The AI appeared to be very, very OP around here, and they just found the time where I couldn't, especially in sectors 2 and 3. You can see there, I get held up on my first flying lap there by Lewis Hamilton into the hairpin, so that was really frustrating. I was almost kind of waving my own actual fist in the air rather than the actual in-game hand go in the cockpit. I was kind of getting pissed off with Hamilton there in the hairpin. Definitely lost me a good amount of at least 3-4 tenths you're talking there, because I not only got put off in the hairpin, but then I got put off looking behind me then into the next few corners. So we go across the line. At the moment, it's P3 there. Obviously, by the time we go to the end of the, go back to the garage, I should say, it's not going to be P3, it's going to be P9. We fast forward through this session, and now I'm down to P10, and I can already tell that I'm going to need to do a second run, and good thing I did so, because on our second run now, you can see less than a minute to go in qualifying. We're down to P12 in qualifying, so we would get knocked out of Q2. At the moment, though, you can see in the top right, I've gained a heap of time there in that exact spot that I got held up by Hamilton. So, you know, nearly over half a second there gained, but then we start losing it immediately as we go through the rest of the lap, and so that's a little bit frustrating to see just the time that we gained initially, you know, in one big go at one corner where we got held up is now going to just start to get kind of worked away, and just throughout this entire section, you know, I've got on hot lap mode. I'm even going to overtake mode in gear 6, 7 and 8 to try and get some extra oomph. But I go across the line and it's only P11. And so, yet again, I find myself mystified at the qualifying pace of at least my car. Even Magnussen's only P7 there in Q2, and I don't know what's going to be for Q3. We'll have to, wait and see what the grid is like in the intro screen for the race. But again, scratching my head to the fact that, okay, on paper now, our car is well and truly the best car on the grid, apparently, according to the game, and yet we're just not there. I can't find the time. Obviously, I know Bahrain's very difficult. The AI very, very good, and also I'll fully admit I'm not very fast around Bahrain anyway versus the AI, but still frustrating to see. But like Australia, I'm hoping that it means I can still go forward in the race. We came back from P12 at Australia to get P3 or even P2, sorry. So hopefully we can do this similar sort of thing and go forward. I don't know if it'll be a podium here at Bahrain because it might be a little bit trickier, but nonetheless, we'll see how it goes, and I'm curious to see where Magnussen ends up in the top 10. So never say never. Let's go into the race and see how we do there.
There's something in the Bahrain air tonight, and I'm not just talking about the sand. Our brightest minds have thrust their brightest ideas into the spotlight of the Sakhir circuit this evening as we look ahead once more to a Grand Prix that has thrilled us so consistently in the past. There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1, of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about the engineer. They're starting towards the back of the field today in a car that is fast, so they'll be disappointed, won't they?
It's not a nice feeling, I promise you. They've got a quick car underneath them, but they've got onto the grid today and they need a pair of binoculars to see the start lights. They'll be desperate for a good start to make up for some of that deficit.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Max Verstappen and Magnussen, Alonso, Perez, Ocon and Nico Hülkenberg. The engineer, Bottas. They've taken a grid penalty. Carlos Sainz and Leclerc, Van Dorn, Gasly, Sergei Sirotkin and Brendan Hartley. Stroll and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So Valtteri Bottas with a penalty elevates Kevin Magnussen up into P6. So I'm assuming he qualified in P7. So even Magnussen couldn't find the time around Bahrain. I don't know, maybe it's our car in terms of characteristics. This circuit in particular, obviously a bit of a power track, and we still don't have a lot of power underneath us compared to maybe Ferrari, the works team, and even maybe the Mercedes cars. Still they might have a bit of an advantage, maybe a bit of less drag as well. Because on last year's game, F1 2017, we quickly realised by season 3 or 4 that the comparison chart and actual performance data doesn't actually give you a complete accurate representation of who the fastest cars are when it actually comes to on track, when the AI get going in qualifying and the race, and even for us as well, obviously, as the player. So we'll see how that evolves through this season, but yeah, curious to, very kind of weird to see Magnussen couldn't even get into maybe the top 5 on legitimate pace, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe it's a case of, we're there on paper, we have to do even more because we started off as a midfield team. We have to do even more and go above and beyond of Ferrari, Merc and Red Bull on that chart to truly be right there with the fight. Because obviously the AI of, the likes of Hamilton, Vettel, etc., they're going to be better AI drivers than Magnussen. And then even myself at the moment, as I'm still learning and getting used to this new car now with the upgrades, every circuit we go to now is going to be a different feeling to the feeling I had last season, because the car is a lot lighter, so it might mean I'm braking too early now. Maybe we need to try and refine the limits of where the car can go. So it's going to keep things on its toes. And so despite the fact we're there as the quote-unquote best car, we still have a lot of work to do here and a lot of work to do tonight here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. P11 now, because we get elevated by 1 to due to Bottas' penalty. The strategy-wise, you can see it's going to be a 2-stop. We're going to start on the super soft tyres, unlike last season where we tried this alternative soft to super soft to soft. We're just going to start on the fastest tyre available and try and stick with the pack. I think that'll be the best bet, but I should think most cars are going to try the 2-stop, thankfully. There'll only be a few outliers that try that 1-stop, so it's going to be a bit more of an aggressive strategy, thankfully, for the entire grid, so that's going to be quite fun, hopefully. So let's just get into it and see how we do here, and hopefully it can be another good points haul for the team, not just myself, but also Magnussen. And now we're going to build up to the race here at Sakhir, under the floodlights for round number 2 of Season 2 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, to 5 red lights, and we are on the way, and it's a bit of an average start for us. A good one for Nico Hülkenberg there, as the German looks to maybe go down the inside of both Force Indias. We quickly go to the inside to maybe try and size up a little cheeky move down the inside of Sergio Perez into turn 1. Meanwhile, Alonso tries to go toe-to-toe with Magnussen there, and Magnussen with a bit of a sluggish start behind me. You've got the Force India in a bit of a Renault sandwich there, and looks like Hülkenberg's got the best of Ocon as we're still trying to trail Perez. Meanwhile, you got, I think that's Raikkonen down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo then. I think it's Hamilton that still leads the way from pole position to Sebastian Vettel. Then it's Kimi v Ricciardo, and then you've got Perez right in front of us. We're trying to overtake him, and meanwhile up ahead you've got Fernando Alonso trying to overtake Magnussen, trying to stay with him, but Perez really slow up the hill on the left hand. You can see the difference in downforce and just also chassis maybe between the Force India and the Haas. Down the inside we go, very easy move on Sergio Perez, and it's a car that I thought, you know, we would be out qualifying really, so I would like to think it would be an easy move, but Perez actually sticks with us, so you can clearly see maybe in a straight line we still need to do some drag updates maybe on the aero, because it looks like maybe we're running a bit too much drag maybe for the Force India, because he's staying with us. And as we go on to the main straight now, onto lap 2, Perez is closing back on us. We've got overtake mode on ERS. I am admittedly running higher aero than maybe the AI are, but still, Perez shocks me by sending one down the inside. A big dive from the Mexican there. Really awesome to see, actually, to be fair, AI being that aggressive into turn 1, but we can cover her off into turn 2. There's no drama, and so we're going to remain in P8, and now we'll chase after the Spaniard Fernando Alonso, of course, our new rival now, alongside Magnussen, and he even is working weak into left-hander. Can we size up a move? He tries to block us off there, nearly brake checked us completely, and so we're on the outside, but Alonso keeps his foot in there, and we're still side by side. Alonso trying to force me off the road a little bit, and getting a little bit touchy there with the elbows out there of the Spaniard. He's got still the raw passion to keep dragging his car up in positions where it's not meant to be, and he's still trying hard to fend me off. We'll try it again round the outside of the last corner, and all the while Magnussen up ahead is getting away from us, and there's a bit of body paint lost off the side part of the McLaren there as we go and touch each other once again. And now you've got Sergio Perez maybe getting to the mix, even the Renault as well. Look at that, how many sparks away are coming through. You think it's a fireworks show, not a Formula 1 race there, with the amount of sparks flying off all our cars. And we go around the outside, and eventually we do get Fernando Alonso up into P7, and now it's all about trying to chase after that man Kevin Magnussen in the bottom of his shot there. But behind us there's still a big old fight going on there. Now Alonso's lost the position to Perez, and Ocon now fancies overtaking the Spaniard, and behind as well you've got the two Renaults also fighting, but Ocon tries to send it down the inside of the S section. Alonso keeping his elbows out, and then meanwhile you've got the two Renaults, like I said, still scrapping away. Carlos Sainz v Nico Hülkenberg, and behind them is Valtteri Bottas, who of course had a penalty for the grid, and he's still way down the order. Meanwhile we've got Verstappen now, he's in P3. Ricciardo though is going to try and make that P3 for himself, and Raikkonen might even say something about it, as there goes the Iceman down the inside of Ricciardo with a lockup from the Aussie, and they go toe to toe. Verstappen meanwhile has lost so much pace that now he's side by side with my teammate, and Magnussen has overtaken him. So Magnussen's got Verstappen again. They had a great scrap in Australia, Magnussen and Verstappen, and so Magnussen's now even looking at the second Red Bull car of Ricciardo. Yeah, are the Red Bulls having more issues now at the Bahrain Grand Prix? They had a retirement for Daniel Ricciardo, of course, and Verstappen had major issues as well at the end of this Australian Grand Prix, and Magnussen on the outside of that left-hander in the middle of Sector 2, and he's going to try and do it. He's down the inside of the hairpin, and so I think the Red Bulls have issues again at the Bahrain Grand Prix. I said maybe the rules and regulation reset wasn't too much of a issue for anyone, because that's the only thing that got reset for Season 2 for us, in my career mode at least, was the durability upgrades. But maybe Red Bull invested a lot on durability last season, and so now they've lost all those upgrades into Season 2, and so maybe that's hindering them. So maybe it's a bigger impact than I thought about losing the durability upgrades, because Verstappen's going very slow. Ricciardo has been overtaken by Magnussen now into turn 1, and so the Red Bulls run P5 and P4 with Magnussen, I believe, who's actually already pit now for his first pit stop. So a very early stop from my teammate, so maybe he was feeling the tyre wear after overtaking the Red Bull car, so he's going to try a bit of an undercut. It actually might work out, to be fair, because we're still scrapping away, or at least I am, with the Red Bulls here, and so he might might find some more time as we send it down the inside of Verstappen. My engineer has actually told me at this point that Verstappen at least has an issue with his car, so an easy move there that is for us down the inside of it. It looked easy. The reason why was because he's got some sort of issue. I don't know about Ricciardo, but my engineers told me it was an issue for Verstappen, so yeah, very, very interesting. So I never really thought the durability would be much of an impact, but it looks like it is definitely making one on the Red Bull team at least, as now we've got the Ferrari of Raikkonen in, so we're going longer. But to be fair, I've still got some decent pace in these tyres, and we've got DRS, ERS also going, and we're going to go down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, slam on the brakes, go really deep on purpose into turn 1 to try and force the hand of Ricciardo, and we're up into P3 now. It will be, let's see where we'll end up though by the time we come into the pit lane, because we're going to box this lap now on the end of lap 6. So Magnussen's had 2 laps on us of undercut, Raikkonen 1, so I'm curious to see where we end up. So Magnussen might have a really good run at a very good undercut, but the way Kimi pit, he might have ended up in a bit of traffic, you never know. So let's see, but we've got one of the Red Bull cars coming in with me, and so we're going to strap on a set of soft tyres then. Obviously, we're just going soft to the end of the Grand Prix, and so, you know, we stretched the super softs as long as I thought. I could have maybe gone 1 or 2 laps longer on those super softs, but I wanted to try and not give Magnussen too much of an undercut, and the same with Kimi. And so as we come out there goes Magnussen into turn 1, and there goes Kimi Raikkonen, and we're actually going to get ahead of Raikkonen. So we've jumped Kimi, but Magnussen has been the biggest winner here, because that might be a net 3rd place then, because it was Hamilton, Vettel, and then it was Raikkonen, Magnussen, the 2 Red Bull cars. So Magnussen might be in a net P3 now, and me in a net P4 as now I look behind me, and I've got to try and contend with keeping a Ferrari car of Kimi Raikkonen behind. And unlike Australia, he has no issues at the moment with any kind of front wing damage like he had and sustained at Melbourne. So we'll see how it goes on to lap 9. Kimi's going to come quite rapid time, even though we've got high ERS. He's got even more ERS battery, I suspect, and DRS as well. And so he goes round the outside. We go to the inside simply to defend that line. We squeeze him out into turns 2, and so we keep P7 for now. Magnussen P6, but obviously some cars are yet to pit clearly in this Grand Prix. I suspect those cars are all trying a 1-stop as we move on to lap 10. Ericsson's one of them. Obviously from last season we saw the 2 Saubers, you know, the likes of one of the McLarens, the Williams, they're trying 1-stops here around the Bahrain Grand Prix. So I suspect Ericsson, he started on the soft tyre, so I suspect he's maybe going till about maybe lap 15, lap 14, going on to medium tyres then and trying the 1-stop here. Obviously it's a good strategy for the Saubers to try and get some points maybe today, and so we're going to have to try and get past Ericsson. Magnussen's already got past him. I think also Magnussen, unfortunately for him, had to contend with some Williams cars as well, but for us it's an easy move on Ericsson then, up into P6, Magnussen P5. You can see on the mini-map though, we've got I think Leclerc and also McLaren of Van Dorn still ahead of Magnussen, yet to pit in this Grand Prix. So both Saubers doing quite well actually, to be fair to them, and quite in lofty heights at the moment on this 1-stop. But here goes Magnussen now later into this Grand Prix, I think a lap or 2 later, closing up to Van Dorn, who's closing up onto Leclerc. So Van Dorn tries to overtake Leclerc, and Magnussen might try and overtake both of them. Here he goes, he's going to the middle of those 2 cars. Kind of really weird, unorthodox way to make a pass there, but he goes to the inside of both those cars, now on the inside of Van Dorn, but Van Dorn manages to keep his elbows out and keeps the position. But a very weird way that Magnussen overtook those, or tried to overtake those 2 cars, and nonetheless he's got Leclerc there, and so now he'll try and chase after Van Dorn, but that already has lost him a bit of time. And so by the time we close up to the back end of Leclerc on lap 12, in the middle of it with DRS there, we can now try and size up a move. You can see up ahead, look at that, Magnussen and Van Dorn going hammer and tong, and they make a bit of contact there, and Van Dorn's managed to keep ahead of Magnussen for now. We're going to try and go over around the outside of Leclerc. We had a bit of a tank slapper up the hill, had to try and go opposite lock to try and control the car, but we managed to find the control and wrangle the neck of the car around the outside of Leclerc finally, and so now we're up into P5, and here goes Magnussen now. We're going to sit back, brake a little bit early, try and size up a good run onto the main straight. We'll have DRS, we got ERS to deploy as well, rich mix as well, so here we go now. Toe of Van Dorn, move to the right hand side. Magnussen's going slowly without any DRS, I think, because I think Van Dorn's got the DRS, so we make a double pass into turn 1, slam on the brakes, hit the apex, up into 3rd place, and that is a very nice move there in this Grand Prix. But the thing is, I think Magnussen at this stage of the Grand Prix has more pace than me, and he's closing up quite rapidly. As I'm on low ERS, he clearly is deploying a bit more, and he's closed right back up to me. You can see the proximity arrows there, and also I look behind me, he's right there. So at this stage, with Vettel there at this point in the circuit, so Vettel about maybe half a sector ahead of me, chasing after Lewis Hamilton, if we want to have any hope of trying to chase after Vettel, I think I'm going to try and let Magnussen pass me on purpose, see what kind of pace he has. He can also drag me along with DRS and play a bit of team tactics here. It may seem a little bit odd to you guys right now, but I think that if I truly have the pace later on, I will be able to re-overtake Magnussen. But at this stage, Magnussen has more pace, so I'm going to try this kind of tactical play of, he's going to drag me along with DRS, but he's going to have ultimately the better pace. And let's see how this goes. Ultimately, if it fails, I just try and re-overtake him, basically, but no one's going to lose. I mean, the worst-case scenario is I re-overtake him for third place later on in the Grand Prix, and that's how it finishes. So we'll see. Obviously, we have to also contend with maybe Raikkonen, and the two Red Bulls are going to come back in this Grand Prix. We haven't seen too much of Raikkonen. I don't know where he is, honestly. On the minimap, it looks like he's still behind Leclerc and the McLaren, but both of them pit now. So there is Raikkonen then right behind us in P5 then, speaking of the devil. And although Magnussen was actually helping me along, drag me along with the DRS, all that talk about tactical play is going to go out the window straight away, because Magnussen is going to pit really early, in my opinion, on that 15 here for his second and last pit stop of the afternoon. So I'm not too sure if he's really having that much tyre wear issues, or if he's trying a conservative strategy onto mediums. But 2 laps later than lap 17, I'm going to pit. And I honestly could have gone a lot longer. I maybe could have gone to about lap 19, even 20 then. But the reason I wanted to come in then was I was so baffled by Magnussen coming in that I wanted to kind of semi-cover him off. And I think also Raikkonen might be coming in sometime soon. I think he actually has come in already on lap 16 maybe. So we're just trying to cover them off, really, because I'm not going to gain any more time, really, by staying out, effectively, because I'm racing, it looks like, Magnussen and Raikkonen. I think it was wishful thinking that we'd try and maybe catch Vettel and Hamilton. We just lost too much time in the beginning phase of the Grand Prix fighting all these cars, and so Magnussen does get ahead of us, but he is crucially there on the top left on medium tyres, as well as Raikkonen on medium. So everyone else is trying a very conservative strategy. At the moment, Hamilton leads the way still from Sebastian Vettel. Then it's obviously Magnussen P3, myself in P4, Raikkonen P5. But all the guys around me are on mediums. I'm the only one on soft tyres. So, I don't know, for once, surprisingly, I'm not getting a lot of tyre wear here around Bahrain, which is very unusual at Bahrain. Then you've got the Alfa Romeo ahead of Van Dorn, I think that was, or I think trailing Van Dorn. Then Alonso just ahead of the Force India. And then behind them is Daniel Ricciardo, who's really dropped off. He's at the tail end of the top 10. And so he's going to want to come back in this Grand Prix quite rapid time, and I think he should do, obviously, with the raw pace of the Red Bull car. We'll have to see, though. But we move back to our POV then a couple laps later after the pit stop on lap 22 now. So we've got 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we are closing up to Magnussen, as you can see. And so, like I said, worst case scenario, I just re-overtake Magnussen, we get back into P3, and no one's lost any kind of, positions in this race. You can see on the minimap, Vettel is nowhere to be seen. So I think the maximum we can get this race is this podium position of P3, and Magnussen ideally can stay there in P4. But here we go now with DRS on the outside there. Magnussen moves to the inside and stays to the middle of the circuit. We've got Rich Mix also going there momentarily, and we go down the inside of turns 2, and we are up into P3 there. And so now we just try and control this position the best we can. But we talked about Daniel Ricciardo earlier, wanting to overtake cars. He's already overtaken Fernando Alonso, Sergio Perez. He's overtaken that Sauber as well. And now here he goes down the inside of Van Dorn to get up into what I believe will be P4, 5, I think 6. P6 behind Raikkonen then, ahead of Van Dorn in P7 then. But Van Dorn's actually going to come back at Ricciardo. So McLaren, obviously, the third best engine on the grid, remember now, in Season 2. A much better engine than Red Bull or Renault, the Works Renault team. And so the Renault in the back of that McLaren is working overtime to try and help Van Dorn. Doesn't quite work out. Behind them is Leclerc. Behind him is then you've got Sergio Perez still fighting and fending off Valtteri Bottas, actually, who's yet to even come back in this Grand Prix. We've hardly heard of the Finn in the Mercedes car. He's had an atrocious Grand Prix there. He's still trying to find his way around the outside. And then behind them is Fernando Alonso, who's had a very quiet Grand Prix compared to his standards of the end of Season 1, and he's being thoroughly beaten by his teammate Van Dorn, which is something we didn't see at all at the end of Season 1, so very weird to say, and kind of weird to think the exact moment I choose him as my rival, he has a bad race, because generally the F1 game, I kind of believe that as soon as you choose your rival, the coding makes them do better in the races, so kind of weird that's happened the opposite way. But now we move on to lap 25 now. 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix. You can see on the right hand side on the heads-up display, I don't have much electrical battery to deploy, and Magnussen may have a lot. So at the moment, I'm only using rich fuel mixture. We're in medium here on the ERS because I just don't have a lot to deploy, and so that's going to mean Magnussen with DRS as well is going to fly past me now on the right hand side on lap 26 to get back into third place. So Ideally, I wanted it to be a quiet rest of the Grand Prix, just go to the end, P3, P4 in formation there, but it looks like Magnussen is going to give me a big old fight, and in the moment you can see he's waltzing away from me because I have to remain in low to try and save the ERS, and generally around this circuit, I try and save the ERS in sectors 1 and the first half of sector 2, and then deploy it all in the second half of sector 2 and sector 3, and that's exactly what you're seeing right now as we go around the outside now of Magnussen. We've got low momentarily, mid-apex, and we're going to bump it up into high, and maybe even overtake for a moment. At the moment, just keeping it high with DRS as well. We don't actually need overtake mode. And so here we go, momentarily then in high, but now down to medium to save in more battery power, because I feel like this fight might go on for longer. Down the inside though, Magnussen tries to jockey for position, but ultimately we get a P3 back, but I don't think it's over yet. We've got 3 laps to go, and at the moment, we're still saving ERS, and Magnussen's still looking pretty feisty. So by the time we get to the end of lap 27 now into the last corner, Magnussen's still right there in the mirrors there. You can just about see we're on high ERS deployment. We go up to overtake mode. We even bump it up into rich mix there. But even so, with the DRS factor altered for Magnussen, he's going to come through to try and re-overtake us. Raikkonen has set a fastest lap of the Grand Prix then, and he's now not too far behind. So now with only 2 laps to go, I need to play this tactically, you know, because Raikkonen now has just gone fastest of all in this Grand Prix. He's looking very, very good, and if me and Magnussen fight too much, he can come and spoil the party and overtake not only one of us, but both of us. So I need to play this clever. So I'm going to stick behind Magnussen now on purpose till the last moment in this Grand Prix, and then try and overtake him for P3. It's a bold strategy. It might not work out. It might backfire on me, because if I'm too slow and I get held up by Magnussen, I might get overtaken myself by Raikkonen. But onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, that's the only option I can see to kind of stop Raikkonen overtaking one of us, nay, 2 of us. So we're going to wait until the very end of lap 29. Hamilton's won the Grand Prix. Vettel goes across the line for the fast lap of the Grand Prix in second place. But here we go in the last corner. Magnussen goes deep. We go down the inside, little over the curbing, but it's a beautiful little switchback move and a great tactical play to keep P3 in this Grand Prix. And Magnussen's also going to get P4. It's a great race in the end.
He did well today. I think the boss will be happy with that one.
That's it for another Grand Prix, and a fantastic win for Mercedes. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, tyre management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
So as I say that, we can see the drivers coming out now to collect their trophies. It's yet more silverware to take back to their base in Brackley after another excellent Grand Prix.
That was a really tense ending to that race, but in the end, I'm really happy with how that on-purpose, tactical kind of staying behind to the last minute worked out. It meant that myself and Magnussen can keep P3 and P4. You saw there with the pace of Vettel as well, that Ferrari was kicking into high gear right at the end of that race, so I was really worried about the Iceman overtaking both of us, so good that we can keep P3, P4, because, yeah, just good consistent points for us. You know, if we're finishing like this consistently throughout this entire season, there's no reason why we can fight for the title maybe here in Season 2. But you can see in the Drivers' Championship, though, obviously Vettel got the win last time. He's got second here. Hamilton gets on the board with some more major points with that win there, so he gets ahead of us. We move down to P3, alternatively as well. Magnussen down to P4, but all in all, still pretty happy. Clearly, you know, again, like Australia, we have work to do in qualifying. Not only me, obviously I need to try and get into Q3 full stop. Magnussen didn't even get into the top 6 on pure pace in qualifying, so we need to see how that goes. And like I said, maybe it's a case of we as a team, because we started off as a midfield team in this game, we need to go even further than just being top by a little bit of a margin to actually be legitimately there in qualifying and, you know, fighting for race victory so far. I'm still winless. Magnussen still has that one win from last season, but constructors-wise, due to our consistency, we still lead the constructors to Ferrari. So in the end, we can't be too disappointed. We're doing a really good job at the moment with 2 rounds gone to still be leading the way. Yeah, so got to pat ourselves on the back. But let's go to the interview then after the race.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you?
So yeah, we did gain obviously a lot of positions. Again, a comeback drive like we did at Australia from P12 to P3 this time. So I'm going to go ahead and say the car really stuck to the road, try and motivate maybe the aero department in that kind of way with that answer.
Everything went your way today. It looked like you had a really good strategy for the race.
I'm going to say I raced hard out there, pedal to the metal, it was really intense out there with Magnussen and Raikkonen at the end, so I'm going to go with the right-hand side answer, and that's going to, I think, give us a bit of a showmanship kind of response there.
That was an epic battle today. How do you think this will play out?
And again, with this fight with Kevin Magnussen, I think genuinely, I believe truly on the left-hand side, it's a good action for the fans, whatever happens really, and it's going to be a bit of a sportsmanship answer.
Appreciate your time.
And so we're going to start wrapping up then what has been a really thoroughly enjoyable second race of Season 2. But you can see we're just ahead of Magnussen on the rivalry there. The same with Fernando Alonso, but I suspect Alonso, as McLaren improve, he'll come back obviously. And I'm not resting on my laurels. Magnussen gave us a real tough time in a few races last season, and we need to keep on top of it. For now, we are doing a great job, but I can't guarantee. It's been a bit of a flawless 2 races so far in terms of our strategy and whatnot. At some point, there'll be a chance for Magnussen to get back at us maybe. But in terms of improving our car, I was very tempted to purchasing maybe a minor upgrade on the engine side or even the aerodynamic side. But honestly, I wanted to go for pure engine power, which is the bottom of that engine tree, which is the next upgrade is a major, not a minor. So I'm going to wait, I think, till next episode and get a major engine upgrade. Like I said, I also thought about maybe doing a minor on the front downforce, but I really fancy that major engine upgrade. I feel like aero-wise, even though we're not really high up in the aero chart, we're still pretty okay, and I want to try and boost the powertrain. You can see that's the weakest area of the car right now. So I'm going to wait, try and save up the points and go for a major engine update next time around for pure engine power. But you can see what I mean. This episode kind of proved it. Although on that right-hand side, we may be literally on the chart. The numbers say we're the best car on the grid. We still clearly have a long way to go because we were nowhere near the race win either times in Australia or Bahrain. But that's great to see. I might sound downbeat about that, but that's great to see that we still have a lot of work to do because, otherwise it maybe would have been a bit too fast maybe to do it all in one season. So we still have a lot of work here, but right now the foundation's looking great. The consistency for me and Magnussen has been amazing. So I'm looking forward to it, and China should be a good one for us. It was a great one last season. So guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, to get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been Ava. I'm interested today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.